The three men convicted of murdering Ahmaud Arbery are now also guilty of federal hate charges. In just the last few hours, a jury in Brunswick, Georgia, determined Gregory McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan violated Arbery's civil rights and targeted him because he was black. Family attorney Ben Crump spoke right after the verdict was read.
Thank God for this good morning that Wanda and Marcus have prayed for.
Yes, sir.
It is because of their conviction to get full justice, not partial justice, for their son Ahmaud Arbery. We get to celebrate this moment.
Joining us now to break it all down and all the legal implications, attorney and former president of the National Bar Association, C.K. Hoffler. C.K., always great to have you, especially on this story. We've covered it from beginning to end, both cases, actually. What happens to Gregory McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan from here?
Well, from here, quite frankly, the defense does have the ability to appeal this, and there's got to be, of course, sentencing, but we know what they would serve, but they would have the ability to appeal this conviction. And let's assume that that happens. They still would begin to serve time on the other case, which is the state case. So they would be remanded back to state prison. And then at some point, once this has taken its course, they would begin presumably to serve their time after they serve their time in the state prison. So William Roddy, who was the only one, Bryan, who was the only one who had the opportunity to get out of prison, will no longer, with this conviction, if it stands, be able to get out of prison because he'd have to serve in federal court.
And you know, even going back to the first trial that we covered together, you know, all of these guilty pleas for these men, what do you think these verdicts, the impact these verdicts have on just the racial reckoning that we have seen over the past couple years since the death of George Floyd and just the movement we've seen throughout our country?
These verdicts, both in the state court and now in federal court, have a tremendous impact on racial reckoning, if you will. And I say that because this is the first time, if we focus on this hate crime case, this federal hate crime case, I can't think back to another case that has been tried successfully by the Justice Department based on hate crimes, based on that statute. So in other words, what this case is saying is that this murder was motivated by racial animus and racial hatred. That is extremely powerful. If we looked at the state case, we saw conviction across the board of the three defendants, the same three defendants, based on murder, but race was not a big factor in that case. So that case said that this stand your ground and these archaic rules and laws that we have in the state of Georgia and other jurisdictions either have been repealed or need to be repealed. But even if they're not repealed, the message is out there that you can't rely on these archaic rules to commit heinous crimes, which was the case in the state case. If you add that with the federal case, now it's saying that if these crimes are motivated by hate, by bias, then you can be convicted. And that is powerful. It's the first time in my lifetime, quite frankly, that I've seen this type of judicial reckoning as it relates to hate crimes, as it relates to racial animus, where there's death that has resulted from these types of heinous crimes. So it's huge in the context of social justice and criminal justice. These are huge verdicts, and they go a long way in terms of the racial reckoning this country desperately needs to have.
And also the advocacy. You know, tomorrow's the second anniversary of Arbery's death. His mom will be speaking in Atlanta. You know, when I think of her, I see Mother Mobley, you know, Emmett Till's mom, and how she became such an advocate and such a voice in this country. And she didn't stop to the day she died. So what do you think this verdict means for Mom and the rest of the Arbery family? I mean, it doesn't stop here. She's got to keep moving the message forward.
Absolutely. I did have the benefit today of speaking to Diane Jackson Arbery, who's the matriarch of the family. And this has a tremendous significance. They feel that their son finally has been vindicated. They will never be healed because they won't have their son back. But it goes a long way in terms of the closure and the vindication. And when we talk about advocacy, I have to give great thanks to Ben Crump, extraordinary lawyer, friend, past president of the National Bar, Daryl Jones and Barbara Arnwine from Transformative Justice Coalition. Their advocacy has been phenomenal. Reverend Jesse Jackson being there in the courtroom with the family, the faith leaders, Reverend Al Sharpton and others who were there to support the family and who kept on pushing for justice in this case. All of that together has played a role in this phenomenal outcome. But for the Arbery family, this is finally their ability to close one part of this chapter, but open another part of the chapter because the struggle and the fight continues for racial equity and justice. And so it's a very important time, and to be able to commemorate, not celebrate, the 2-year anniversary of their son's heinous murder is very important for this family tomorrow to bring closure. So we applaud them, we revere them, we support them for their tenacity and for just standing up for their child. Because if they didn't push, if Marcus Arbery had not pushed the way he did in the beginning for justice, if his mother, Ahmaud Arbery's mother, didn't push for justice in the beginning to get vindication and to push for an indictment for their son's murder, this may not have happened. And that's what the world needs to understand. There's a story from beginning to end. We still have a prosecutor, by the way, Jackie Johnson, who faces her own charges, her own trial that's coming up. And until that happens, the story won't be complete, of course.
Well, and there is another story that has now hit the headlines, and the growing outrage as well, this time in Mississippi, after that black FedEx worker, Damontario Gibson, was allegedly chased and shot at by a white father and son. It's like having flashbacks here of Ahmaud Arbery. They were charged with assault and are both pleading not guilty. This whole incident just evoking the memory of Ahmaud Arbery. Does this verdict set a precedent, and will it be relevant, you think, in this newer case as we start to follow this one now?
Absolutely. I think this case does set a precedent. It sets a precedent nationwide and internationally. It sets a legal precedent in this country. And it doesn't matter that it's in Georgia, because as we see in Mississippi, there's a virtually identical case that also the family's being represented by one of our National Bar Association members, our president. So this does set a precedent of how to position, how to win these cases, the type of evidence that's needed. And I think it's very important because the world is now seeing the distinction between hate crimes and murder.
C.K. Hoffler, I always enjoy our conversations and have so much respect for you. Thank you for your time today.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.